Hello everyone, I am Olima Xolmurodova. Today I am going to present an interesting topic which might be very informative for you. Do you speak English? Yes, I do. This question is sounded a lot every day around the world. Yes, there are a lot of English speakers in the world today. The English language is expanding its horizons rapidly every year. Before starting our main topic, I would like to share the most valuable facts about the English language. Are you ready to listen? Then let's begin. So, here are fascinating facts about the English language. There are 2 billion English speakers in the world. With 2 billion speakers worldwide, English is the largest language by the number of speakers. It is also the third largest language by the number of native speakers. So, English is the official language of 67 countries. That's right, 67 countries. In some countries, whereas English is not the most spoken language, it is an official language. That means it is accepted by country's government and often taught in schools. That's a lot of world covered with just one language. Amongst these countries are core Anglosphere. These include the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Due to the colonial history of the British Empire, some countries also have an official language. These include Barbados, India, Nigeria, Cyprus. English words used to have gender. So, if you speak Spanish, German or French, you will be familiar with the languages where nouns came in 3 varieties: masculine, feminine and neutral. These days, English nouns do not have a gender, but once upon a time they did. Up until 1200s, instead of using article Z or A, Old English has a masculine article C and a feminine article CO. Linguists are not sure what happened to provoke the change. However, Professor Anne Curzon claims in her book Gender Shifts in the History of English that English lost its genders after the language was mixed with many other over hundreds of years. A lot of this language mixing took place in the north of England, where Vikings made huge impact after invading between the 700s and the 1000s. There are 1071,000 words in the English vocabulary. Before we explain just how deep English language is, we need to mention there are absolutely no need for English learners to be scared by the number of words there are. In fact, research shows that you will be able to understand about 65% of all writing in English with just only 300 most common words. At the time of writing, the Oxford English Dictionary contained 171,476,000 words. However, it's hard to tell if these numbers are reliable simply because English has repurposed words from so many other languages. It is also surprisingly difficult for linguists to measure what counts as a whole word. For example, we should include plurals, diminutives, and conjugations. It is estimated that 3 words are added to the dictionary every 2 hours, and roughly 1,000 words are added to the Oxford English Dictionary every year. For example, in 2020 alone, lol, awesome sauce, and sticky were all added to the dictionary, which shows how flexible and fun the language has become. Shakespeare added over 1,000 words to the English language. The English language would not be the same without the writer of famous plays like Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet. Through him, we were introduced to the words like lonely, critic, and addiction. So Here are 6 reasons why English is the most valuable languages you can learn in 2023 and beyond. So, English is the dominant language in academy. Learning English opens the door to some of the world's top colleges, universities, and particularly in the United States and the United Kingdom. Many of these institutions ask for B2 and C1 level of English. The best way to prove your English level by achieving certification from either IELTS or TOEFL English exams. One of those certifications is your golden ticket to opportunities, not just at the university, but in your career too. English is the most common business language. Learning English will make you more employable, not just business, as I mentioned it above, in the UK or in the US, but also businesses across the world. Research by Cambridge English found that English is important for over 95% of employers, even in many countries where English is not an official language. The most popular entertainment in the world is in English. For example, Hollywood, Netflix have opened up our minds to brilliant told stories and incredible must-see TV. When you learn English, you won't need to read pesky subtitles and with word translation any longer. YouTube is also a great resource. Learn a language since 66% of YouTube content is in English. There are also lots of video bloggers and channels dedicated online language learning. English is the most useful language for travel. If you travel abroad, so if you know English, so your travel will be much more enjoyable and you will not come across any difficulties in any countries around the world. English is the language of online world, and at the same time, English is the easiest language in the world to learn. To start, English nouns have no gender and a simple grammar system. Sentence structure are fairly straightforward without tricky morphology. For example, in English, you won't change the ending of an adjective depending on the gender of the noun in a sentence, like you would in language like Spanish, German, Russian. This makes learning nouns and adjectives a breeze. Now, I would like to give you information about the difference between American and British English. The English language was introduced to Americas by the arrival of British, beginning in the late 16th and the early 17th centuries. The language also spread to numerous other parts of the world as a result of British trade and a settlement and the spread of former British Empire, which by 1921 included 470 and 570 billion people, about a quarter of the world's population. The differences between American and British English has provided opportunity for humor outcomment. In fiction, George Bernard Shaw says that United States and United Kingdom are two countries divided by a common language. As for Oscar Wilde says that we have really everything in common with America nowadays, except, of course, the language. Henry Swift incorrectly predicted in 1877 that within a century, American English, Australian English, and British English would be mutually unintelligible. Perhaps increased worldwide communication through radio, television, and the internet has tended to reduce the regional variation. To truly understand the differences between these two main dialects, we need to understand the history of English language. The history of English language can be broken down into 4 parts. So, first part is Old English. The native inhabitants of British Isles were called Britons. They spoke several Celtic dialects. On the other hand, English speak dialects from the West Germanic language family. Over the time, the land became known as an Anglo-land or Anglia-land and the language as English. Modern-day linguists refer to the new language that emerged in this period. The second part, known as the Middle English period, was from about 1100 to 1500. The language was greatly affected by the Norman French conquest period between 1066 and 1075, when William I and the Duke Normandy, also known as William Conqueror, fought for and laid claim to the English crown. The end of the Middle English period was outside the influence of French on the English language came about due to two factors. First, Englishmen began to replace the French nobility. They started demand for more literature in English rather than in French. The third part of the history of the English language is known as an early modern English. This period lasted from 1500 till 1800 years. During this period, England experienced a great time of technological, political, and cultural advancements, such as introduction of the printing press in 1476 by William Caxton, and the exploration and colonization of Americas. The final part of the history of English language is Britain, often called Modern English. As the British Empire rose to global dominance, they also spread English language, making it the first truly global language. It was also during this time that American English started to develop and branch off into its own distinct dialect. History of American English as such, it is important to look at this starting off point to best understand the history of American English. Early modern English or Elizabeth English had a big impact on early development of American dialect. The first permanent English colony, Jamestown, Virginia, was founded in 1607, and the early American English was also influenced by the Pidgin English that was brought over West African slaves in the 17th century. Lastly, it is important to remember that English was not the first European language in Americas. For example, Spanish were already in Texas for almost 100 years before the establishment of Jamestown. Additionally, French also had colonies in America in 16th centuries. Through contacts with many different cultures in the Americas, the language slowly evolved. However, it is interesting to note that the basic grammar and the structure of the language kept its British roots. The main influence of these other languages was vocabulary. As you can see, there are three main reasons that American and British English diverged, becoming two distinct dialects. First, time and distance had a big influence. For example, when the Mayflower sailed to America in 1620, it took 66 days to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Second, the social and the political histories in both countries varied greatly. Third, as America went from being a colony of Britain to a sovereign nation, the relationship between these countries also changed. British and American English have many similarities as well as some significant differences. In other words, it is easy to look at it that these two dialects like cousins. They came from the same family, therefore they have a lot of similarities. But they don't live together, as such have some differences as well. British English is often referred to the written standard of English and the pronunciation known as a received pronunciation. Besides British English, there are two other variants of the English language existing on the territory of United Kingdom: Scottish English and the Irish English, which have a special linguistic status. American English is a variety of English language spoken in the United States of America. The vocabulary used by American speakers has distinctive features. They call it Americanisms. All into English translators need to be aware of these key differences, not only translators. So it will be useful if you're aware of the differences between American and British English, and adapting your translation to the specific demands of British American English is a simple yet essential method to ensure that your English translation is both accurate and effective. So it is very important to know these differences. So while formatting the data, there are differences. So UK, and in the UK they first write date, month and year. In the United States of America they first put month, date and the year. For example, 17th of February 2023. February 17th 2023. And a full stop and plus AM PM while indicating the time. And coming to the punctuation, so in the UK no full stop after titles. For example, Dr., Mr., Mrs., Miss. So you don't have to put full stop after these titles. And the lowercase number, abbreviationist number, for example 5790, and it only uses Oxford comma at the end of the list for clarification. I had eggs, toast and orange juice. Punctuation outside quotation marks unless it's part of spoken sentence. So hello, she said, how are you today? And the American English, full stop after the titles. So if you are going to write a titles like Dr., Mr., Mrs. and a Miss, you have to put a full stop after these titles. And the capitalized numbers abbreviations. Number 5790 almost always uses Oxford comma. I had eggs, toast and orange juice. Punctuation inside quotation mark. Hello, she said, how are you today? As for coming to the compound word nouns, British English always use hyphens for compound adjectives before a noun. For example, a print out presentation. So gerund plus noun, skipping rope. And in the American English tends to make compound words. Print out presentations and the infinitive plus noun, jump rope. As for coming to the collective noun, in the British version, usually plural, and a group is typically thought of as a group of individuals. For example, so you have to use a plural. A group is typically thought of as a group of individuals. The committee were unable to agree, and the Liverpool are winning. Muse are a great band. The Beatles are playing at the Wimbledon. And in the American English, it is almost always singular, excluding plural sports teams and band names. The committee was unable to agree. Liverpool is winning. Patriots are winning. Muse is a great band, and Beatles are playing at Wembley. As far as coming to the preposition, there are certain differences between American and British English. In British English, they say it's the weekend. Americans use on the weekend. And British people say play in a team, and in the American English you may say play on a team. And in the hospital, American people say that in the hospital. In hospital, in the hospital. I was in hospital yesterday. It is British English. I was in the hospital yesterday. It is American English. And the Monday to Friday, they call in Britain, in United Kingdom. Monday through Friday is used in American English. And there are some other differences using prepositions between these two variations of English. For example, fill in a form, fill out a form. Write to someone, write someone. Yesterday, I wrote to you. Yesterday, I wrote you. At the back, in the back. And as coming to the spelling differences, in the UK, they use double L in these words like travel it, level it, and they use RE in these words. Center, litter, theater. OUR usually used in the UK version. Color, favor, license, defense, summarize, analyze. And in the US version, they use only one L. Travel it, level it, center, litter, theater, color, favor. And these words we can see a lot of differences while using them in practice. So, and coming to the general vocabulary, in the UK they say 6:15. It is 6:15. In the US they say 6:15 or 6:30. In the American versions they say 6:30. And if it comes to the 10 to 6, American people say 10 to till or before 6. And the anti-clockwise is used in British English, and the counterclockwise is used in American English. Fortnight is in UK version, and the 2 weeks are in American English. And they say postcode in who use British English, and the zip code is in American English. And even they don't say telephone in America, they say phone, and they use mail instead of post. And the timetable is used in the UK, and the schedule is used in the US. These are other words like car park, parking lot, full stop, period, and even if you are going to write a CV, it is in British English. Resume is in American English. And holiday, vacation, so booking, reservation. So city center, we know that city center is the center of the city, but in America they call it downtown. For example, I live in downtown of New York, and the flat is in British English, apartment is in American English. So lift, elevator, ground floor, fourth floor, expired date, expiration date, engaged, busy. So if we come to the medical vocabulary, so general practitioner is in a UK English, and the family practitioner is in American English. So and other words like a clinical trailer and clinical study, so we can see clear differences between these words. For example, pharmacies, drugstore. Pharmacies is used in the British English, and if we use American English, we may use drugstore. Coming to the technical vocabulary, so lorry is called a truck in American English, and the caravan is trailer in American English. And the petrol, British people say petrol, American people say gas. And the silencer, muffler, and windscreen in British English, and the windshield is in American English. If we cross the road, we say zebra crossing, but in American English they call it crosswalk. And the pavement is in British English, and the sidewalk is American English. So as we use everyday mobile phones, it is in British English, but American people say cell phone. As for coming to the legal and business vocabulary, in UK they say solicitor, and in the US it is barrister, lawyer. Managing director chief executive officer, and a estate agent is called a realtor in American English. And some other differences, like we understand these words, but still coming into the practice for using, so they might be different. For example, fall, autumn. We know these words and we use it a lot in our practice. Sometimes we call it fall, sometimes we call it in autumn, and they both are accepted by English speakers. For example, fall, autumn, to guess, to think, to sick or ill, unwell. In American usage, these words still remain their old meanings, whereas in British English their meanings have changed or fell out of the use. American shortenings like dormitory, dorm, dormitory, moment, certainly. The layer of words shared with Scottish English. Ever, at all, great, cry, weep, bray, hill, steep, slope. So, look at these sentences. Do you know which sentences are more typical of British English or American English? Shall I open the door for you? He's taking a shower. France have won the World Cup. I'm not hungry, I just eat. There are 5 of the most common grammatical differences between British and American English. Present perfect and past simple. In British English, people use the present perfect to speak about the past actions that they consider relevant to the present. The present perfect can be used in the same way American English, but people often use the past simple way they consider the action finished. This is especially common with the adverbs already, just and yet. British English, he's not hungry, he has already had lunch. Have you done your homework yet? Yes, I have just finished it. And in American version, he's not hungry, he already had lunch. Did you do your homework yet? Yes, I just finished it. And as for coming to the got and gotten, in British English, the past participle of the verb get is got. In American English, people say gotten. In British English, you could have got hard. He has got very thin, has got serious about her career. But have you got any money? We have got to go now. In American English, you could have gotten hard. He has gotten very thin. She has gotten serious about her career. Have you got any money? Have you got any money? Not. Have you gotten? We have got to go now. Not. We have gotten to. Verbs from the forms from the collective nouns. In British English, a singular or plural verb can be used with a noun that refers to a group of people or things, a collective noun. We use plural verb when we think of a group of individuals, or a singular verb when we think a group of as a single unit. In American English, a singular verb is used with the collective nouns. In British English, my family are visiting from Uzbekistan. My team are winning the match. The crew are on the way to the airport. But the police are investigating the crime. In American English, they say differently. So my family is visiting from Uzbekistan. My team is winning the match. The crew is on the way to the airport. The police are investigating the crime. And the have-take verbs in British English, verbs have-take are commonly used with nouns like bath, shower, wash, to speak about washing, with nouns like break, holiday, rest, to speak about resting. In American English, only the verb take is used this way, and not the verb have. In the British English, I am going to have to take a shower. let's take a break. In American, people say, I am going to take a shower, let's take a break. As coming to the future tense, shall, in British English, people often use shall I, or I shall, to offer to do something, or shall we, to make a suggestion. It is very unusual for speakers of American English to use shall. They normally use an alternative like should, can I, or do you want, would you like, how about instead. So in British English, it is hot here. Shall I open the window? Shall we meet in a cafe at 5? Shall we try that again? If you are going to use American English, you have to say like that. It is hot here. Can I open the window? Do you want to meet in the cafe at 5? How about we try that again? So today we look through all the differences between American and British English. As a conclusion, I can say that the two leading normative models in the fostering standard of educated usage are British and American English. Currently, English is the de facto international language of the world. In 21st century, English has become the international language of communication, and both conventional and digital. I hope you find my video informative and interesting. Thank you a lot.